So the two standout themes that came through from the results today, and thanks very much for your time and seeing us.
Good to be here with you, James.
Is that the chemical and the international business had a very good year, and there's been a lot of growth out of the international side. Do you think that is a trend now that is entrenched within Sasol?
Yeah, we were very pleased with our chemical cluster, 29% contribution to operating profit, and certainly, if the margins in the chemical prices can stay up where we had them, then that's going to be good news for this year as well. They were up 6 to 29% over what we had budgeted for FY11. So, depending on what happens to the economy and where pricing goes, it's that could be a challenge for us. But right now, we're looking for more good things from chemicals.
And the 36% contribution from the international business, is that from a business that's really seen as a South African entity, that's quite significant as well. Is that now something that we can expect going forward?
I would say so. That also was great to see, and as you saw in our results presentation, we are looking at more international growth from upstream gas to liquids, and integrated chemicals. We made some great announcements on the GTL and the integrated chemical plant in Louisiana, where that's moving to feasibility. So you'll see some movement on that project. Uzbekistan GTL also moving along. The board has approved that project subject to some commercial conditions being signed off. I'll be over in country on the 19th with our partner Petronas, visiting with the president and getting some final alignment on that project. So, yeah, internationally, more debottlenecking at Oryx up in Qatar, and Iran is producing well. So that 36%, will hopefully start moving north as a percentage. Certainly, we are sustaining our business in South Africa and investing big dollars to keep our engine running nicely here in South Africa.
And just remaining with the gas and the gas to liquids theme, but you're still acquisitive in the gas space. Which jurisdictions would you be most interested in? Right. And what sort of timing are you looking at in terms of those acquisitions? SPI,
our upstream business, is busy on M&A activity and on exploration for natural gas. So it's a two-prong approach, definitely organic and M&A. And so, if you're looking at locations, certainly North America, and continuing to feed our opportunities there with that dynamic of the shale gas play going to 45% shale gas supply by 2035 to arguably keep the natural gas price down so that we can play off the arbitrage with oil, which arguably is going to continue to go up in the longer term. Notwithstanding some, any double dip issues that we may see, but longer term, that arbitrage is very important. So clearly, M&A activity in that region is going to be very important, but also we'll be looking at Australia and throughout Asia Pacific as well, as you look at those other shale gas finds around the world. We'll be taking a close look and leveraging our alternative fuels and integrated chemicals technology to monetize those shale gas reserves and provide energy security for all those countries that need it.
South Africa's also got potential as a shale gas jurisdiction.
Right.
Are you still interested in South Africa, or have you been put off at all by the amount of noise and the moratorium around shale gas?
Not put off at all. We support the moratorium for a good reason. We need to find a regulatory framework and look at best practices around the world that can be put in place here in South Africa that is responsible to the environment. Now, we're working on a technical cooperation permit right now with our partners Chesapeake and Statoil, and just doing desktop studies, just office activity, looking at exploration that was done back in the 70s and 80s to see from a technical, operational, environmental, economical viability standpoint if we want to proceed further. And that decision will be taken later this year. So that's Sasol, and we're in the Kruger Basin, not directly in the Kruger, but in the Kruger Basin. Of course, there's others operating or looking at shale gas here in South Africa. From Sasol's perspective and my perspective personally, having come out of Canada and having looked at our operations, visited our operations in British Columbia, which have drilling wells and fracking, drilling rigs and fracking crews on those wells right now in British Columbia, a very pristine province, probably the most environmentally pristine province we have on the far west coast of Canada. But they're working very well with government. There's a good regulatory framework in place and permitting process in place, and our operators, or our partners who are operating Talisman Energy, is doing a fine job. They list their chemicals, fracking chemicals, on their website. The British Columbia government is putting all oil and gas companies' fracking chemical makeup on the British Columbia government website. You know, it's not a matter of whether they want to show it or not. It's a recipe to, which is an advantage for you. It's like, you know, not wanting to give all the recipe ingredients of your favorite cake away to the competition. And that's exactly what this is. But they will show it. They're not going to tell you every spoonful of what's in there, but they will demonstrate that those are non-toxic chemicals and nothing, and in very small quantities that the public should not be worried about. Now we're taking technology that started in the 30s. We've been fracking in Alberta. We've got 167,000 fracked wells in Alberta right now. Old technology. It's vertical. What we're doing now is adding a horizontal stem to the pipe, and we're fracking at 3,000 meters, give or take, depending on what location you're in. 3,000 meters is where the fracking's taking place, and the water table is at 300 meters. There's a lot of hard rock between those two depths. That there's no way you can permeate that rock and contaminate the water table. The trick is, again, and this has been around a long time, is to have responsible operators drilling at subsurface and getting those casings and cement set properly to get you through the water table. But that's been going around since the start of drilling, and that's to me why I'm positive about what we could do here in South Africa. If it plays out that there is trillions and trillions of cubic feet of gas in the Karoo, that is of national importance. There needs to be a national debate on this. And so that takes care of chemicals, that takes care of fracking. Water is talked about, you know, the water used to frack. 50 to 75% of that water is recyclable, so you're using it again and again. It only takes a matter of hours, 3 days, to frack a well, and then you turn the water off and go to the next one and turn the water on. But then that well is producing for 15, 20, 25 years. It's not needing any more water. But the trick is, where do you get the water into the Karoo? You need to go very deep to get brackish water out, or, I don't know, maybe the government wants to think about a state-owned water company to create jobs and build a desalination plant on the coast and a nice pipeline for a couple hundred kilometers to take care of the water issue, and look at that. But let's not just say, you know, it's out of bounds here. We need to look at it closely, because it is of national importance for the country and for the energy infrastructure of the whole region.
And moving downstream slightly to gas to liquids, you mentioned Uzbekistan, and you might pull the trigger quite soon there. How advanced is your planning with regard to Canada?
Yeah, Canada is progressing. It's in feasibility right now. That feasibility study should be completed by the middle of next year. And in conjunction, in parallel with that, we're working on what it will take from a regulatory environmental permitting process, working with the authorities to make sure that when we go into FEED, you know, the timing of those permits are going to line up nicely with the beneficial operation, and that it can all get tied together, and that we have a good likelihood, probability of proceeding positively. But having gone to university in the city where we're thinking about putting that facility, it is heavy industrial area in one part of the province there that is very open to these types of facilities. I don't see a problem whatsoever from that standpoint.
Have you selected a site?
We're looking at several sites. Yeah, Alberta comes to mind for sure, just across the province. But British Columbia is also making some inroads and talking to us about what they'd like to see So it's good to be in that position where you've got several parties interested in working with you.
And finally, there seems to be a shift taking place at Sasol from coal to liquids to gas to liquids. Is that a fair analysis? We've seen the holding pattern on Mafuta, and we also see the sort of pullback that you announced today on the Chinese project. Are we seeing a fundamental shift towards gas and away from coal?
Well, based on all these discussions around shale gas and the whole gas oil arbitrage pricing, I mean, certainly that tends to go in that direction. However, coal to liquids, the technology is strong, and hopefully it will make sense in a number of countries that need to monetize their coal. We can certainly, from an environmental standpoint, there's technology available from a pollution standpoint to make that a very clean environment. The CO2 issue, which is an emission, not a pollutant, is the issue that surrounds coal to liquids. And until we get things sorted out worldwide on CO2, and are we going to continue down the CO2 path, or are we going to put more of our focus on water quality and pollutants? That's got to play out some more. COP17 will be a very interesting discussion. Kyoto 2, it doesn't look like it's very likely right now. Where does that leave us if all the countries that were signed up to Kyoto start pulling back and start going after voluntary targets and doing whatever they can, as Sasol is doing? We mentioned today that our voluntary reduction of our CO2 footprint has been dramatic, 12% in the last 5 years, which is, I think, a good way to go. More of a carrot approach versus a stick approach with taxes, especially when you've got a process like we do, which is very CO2 intensive. So I think that needs to play out some more, but the coal to liquids technology is proven. We've got a great track record and experience that we want to take to the market when appropriate and in the countries that need to leverage it.
But the near-term opportunities are more related to the gas.
The near-term opportunities plus India. India CTL is very interesting for us. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thanks
for your
Terrence.
time.
Yeah, good to see you.